All right. Okay, 7173. This is our little review, guys. You will have word problems. You're going to have a word problem that probably has to do with like break even point, equilibrium. What does it mean to break even? You set C equal to R. Whatever the two equations are, they're going to give you the cost equation, they're going to give you the revenue equation. You find out when they're equal. It's when you break even. You set them equal to each other and solve it. Then you can plug back in to find your X versus your other variables. So in this case, all right, we have Ms. Ron invested $14,000 in equipment to print yearbooks. Each yearbook costs $7 to print and sells for $35. What goes with the cost to make this yearbook?
C plus 14.
Okay, the $14,000 that we invest initially, right? Plus, how much does it cost to make each yearbook? $7. Does everybody see that? And then it sells, each yearbook is $35. So it sells for $35 per yearbook. In order to find the break-even point, you want to know when the cost of making each yearbook is equal to how much you sell it for. Does everybody understand that?
Whoa, wait.
Break even, how much does it cost to make a yearbook? Well, she invested $14,000 and then it's $7 for each yearbook. So that's her cost. Her revenue is how much money she makes. It's $35 each. So you're finding when those two things will be equal. So now all you do is solve. You're going to subtract 7 from both sides. What's 35 minus 7? So you have 14,000 equals 28C. Then you do what? Divide by 28. So how many books does she need to make in order to break even? 500. After she sells 500, she starts to do what?
Oh, make profit.
She starts to make profit. She starts to make money. Good. All right, suppose you have $10,410 in equipment to manufacture a new video game. So how much have you put in? $10,410. And it cost you $2.65 to make each game. So would you guys agree it's 2.65x? This is how much it costs to make a game. And it sells for $20. How many games must you make? So where does my 20x go? Equals 20x. Good. And now we just solve. Subtract 2.65x. So I have 10,410 equals, what's 20 minus 2.65? 17.35x. Divide both sides by 17.35. And you get what? 600. After 600, what happens? You're making a profit. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll have probably one or two little word problems like that. You'll have one of these back substitutions. Guys, this should be pretty simple. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it like that.
I'm just going to keep it just like this. So we're going to take y. Back substitution. Take what they give you and just go backwards. So take the y. I'm going to plug in right there, right? So 3x plus 2 times negative 5 equals negative 25. 3x what? Minus 10 equals negative 25. Add 10 to both sides. 3x equals negative 15. So x equals negative 5. So we have x. We have y. How are we going to find z? Plug it into the top one. So I have negative 5, right? Minus a negative 5 minus 2z equals negative 6. So negative 5 plus 5 minus 2z equals negative 6. What happens with negative 5 and positive 5? So negative 2z equals negative 6. And then what? Divide by negative 2. So z equals 3. Now, this is important because your directions will say to write your answer as an ordered pair or as an ordered triple. Don't just leave it like this. I'm taking points off. Write it as an ordered triple. What would my answer be? Negative 5, negative 5, 3. There is your answer. That is what I'm looking for. How do I know yes, I'm right or no, I'm not? You can plug it back in. You can check these. You don't have to. I'm just telling you that that's the route you should take. All right, when I go through these next ones, guys, I'm not going to do them all 25 different ways. I'm going to talk to you about different ways you can do them. But your main thing is you want to first, a lot of you yesterday, We're getting ourselves all confused all over the place. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what to solve for. If you follow my directions and my suggestions, it's the same way every time. The first thing you need to do is make sure that your first equation is a positive 1x coefficient. Yes. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right now, the way this is written, is this a positive 1x coefficient? No. There's a couple things you can do. You can either move the bottom one up to the top, right? Or you could just change the signs of the entire first one.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Couldn't I just make this positive, 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 negative, and then I have a positive 1x? You could do that. If you did that, that's fine. I'm going to just take the bottom equation and move it up to the top. Did everybody see that?
You get the same answer
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter what order it is, like the second and third one?
Say it again.
Does it matter what order it is,
No.
the second and third one?
So I'm going to write my first equation, and I always write this out. I'm going to say x plus 5y minus z equals negative 20. How many of you solved it this way? Just moving the top one up. Okay? Perfectly fine. So now, what is my next equation in red? What should it read?
20.
Negative.
What? No, the next equation in red, I have x, y, and z. What should the next one underneath it say? Y and z. And then what should the last one say?
Oh.
Z. All right, sometimes it works out where x's and y's cancel out right away, something like that. Okay, fine, you just luck out that that happens. But you should have your three equations over to the side so then you can go and do the back substitution. So, Kaylin, what did you do? You took your first one, x plus 5y minus z equals negative 20, and you combine it with what? With which one? 4x, okay. So 4x minus 5y plus 4z equals 19. Mm-hmm.
Does it matter which one you combine?
No.
Like if I use negative x minus 5y.
So now I want to eliminate x's. That's my first goal, is to eliminate x's. So I'm going to multiply the top. Everybody agree by negative 4? Yes? Okay, so I have negative 4x. Then what? Minus 20y plus 4z equals what? What's 4 times negative 4 times negative 20? 80. We agree? Okay, so those cancel out. So what am I left with? Negative 25y plus 8z equals 99. Questions? Comments, concerns? We okay?
Wait, negative 25. I did it like this the first time, and since I got like a high number, I just changed.
You just stopped.
No, I like did it a different way. I thought I did it wrong.
Okay. Well, let's work it out and see. This isn't the way I did it, but that's okay. All right, so I have my first equation as x, y, z. Then I have my second equation as y, z. What should my last equation be? Z. So I'm going to take the first one that I started off with, which was x plus 5y minus z equals negative 20. And I'm going to combine it with which one? Negative x, what? Minus 5y minus 5z equals what? 2. Agreed? Okay, so what happens to my x's? Cancel out. What happens to my y's? They cancel out. So I have negative 6z equals what? Negative 18. Then what? Divide by negative 6. So z equals 3. Okay, so guys, I'm going to tell you again, there's different ways to do this, but it doesn't matter if you do it in a different order. You should get the same ordered pair. So let's go through now. Now look, I have z equals 3. A lot of you yesterday weren't doing this part where you had your 3 equations. You need to do this in order to be able to not get confused, because you guys are getting confused here when you don't write out your 3 equations and you don't know where to plug back into what. But now that we have what z equals, how do I figure out what everything else equals? Now you plug it back in. So I'm going to say negative 25y plus 8 times 3 equals 99. Let's see what happens here. So negative 25y plus 24 equals 99. What do I do? subtract 24. So what's, excuse me, 99 minus 24? Positive? Yeah? So divide both sides by negative 25, and y equals negative 3. Well, now I know what z equals. Now I know what y equals. How do I find out what x equals? Plug it into the first one. So x plus 5 times negative 3 minus what? 3 equals negative 20. So x minus 15 minus 3 equals negative 20. X minus 18 equals negative 20. What do I do? Add 18. And x equals. Now what do? I have 3 answers. How do I say, hey, Mrs. Meadows, here's my answer? Negative 2, negative 3, and 3. Now, some of you may not have gotten, or you should have gotten that answer, but you may have gone about it a different way. That is okay. There's not just one specific way to do it, but I'm telling you, if you don't establish some sort of routine, you're going to get totally confused all over the place. That makes sense? Okay, let's go on to the next one. You're only going to know these. Can't possibly give you a million of them. All right, let's do 5. What am I going to do here? What's the problem? Doesn't start with a positive 1. So just move one of them. I'm just going to switch these two. Okay? So I'm going to say x minus 2y plus 3z equals 13. And then I'm going to write 3x plus 2y minus 5z equals 3. And then x plus 2y minus z equals negative 1. I cannot impress upon you enough, guys, to check your signs. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm like paranoid about writing them wrong. God bless. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to write down is x minus 2y plus 3z equals 13. So now I want my next equation to say y and z. So I'm going to take the first, x minus 2y plus 3z equals 13, and the second, 3x plus 2y minus 5z equals 3. Now, yesterday people were like, well, look, the y's cancel out. Okay, that's great. God bless you. But I'm telling you, if you do that, then you guys are left with x and z, and then you're like, wait, what am I supposed to do? It'll still work out right, but you're going to get yourselves confused. So go with what I said. Let's get rid of the x's first. So I have negative 3x, positive 6y, negative 9z, negative 39. Everybody agree? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's gone. So now we add down. We have 8y minus 14z equals negative 36. Agreed? Yeah. Okay, so 8y.
Can't you divide them all though?
Minus, 14z equals negative 36. If you want to, do that. You're just not going to do that every time, so I wouldn't start changing stuff around. But again, do what you are comfortable with. You guys know how to solve equations. So now to find my last equation, I take the first and the last. Agreed? Mm-hmm. And I want to eliminate what?
Y.
No. What's the first thing we do is x's. I get that y cancels out. I just wouldn't do that. I would go with the process. I'm going to change the x's. So all I'm going to do, look, is just change all the signs of one of them. Everybody okay with that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so my x's come down. I have 2y and 2y is 4y. Negative 3z and a negative z is negative 4z equals negative 12. Mm-hmm. Now, how do I find z? I combine these two. So I have 8y minus 14z equals negative 36.
What if you combine them like totally different? Like for me, I combined x and I got negative y plus z equals 3. And then I did the negative.
If you get the same answer, Mia, that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to do the top by negative 2, right? So negative 8y plus 8z equals 24. Okay, so I have negative 6z equals what? Negative 12. Divide both by negative 6. And z equals what? 2. Z equals 2. Now that we have z equals 2, right? Now that we have z equals 2,
Plug it in.
plug it in where?
The first one.
Let's go here. Let's just go right here and just do our back substitution. So I have 8y minus 14 times 2 equals negative 36. 8y minus 28 equals negative 36. Agreed? Add 28. And 8y equals, what's negative 36 and 28?
8. Negative 8.
Negative 36 plus 28 is negative 8, guys. Divide both sides by 8, and y equals what? Negative 1. Not picking on Hannah. Hannah just said 8. Not picking. I wrote the problem down at the beginning. But do you see how, guys, that is a huge difference if I would have written y equals 1. Because then when I plug it back into the top, I'm going to get an answer. I'm going to get one, but it's not going to be the right one. So it's really important that you check. Last thing we're going to do here is plug everything into the top one to find x, correct? So x minus 2, what's my y? Negative 1. Negative 1 plus 3 times 2 equals 13. So I have x plus 2 plus 6 equals 13. X plus 8 equals 13. Now what? Minus 8. So x equals, what's 13 minus 8? What's 13 minus 8? 5. What's my ordered triple?
5, negative 1, 2.
5, negative 1, 2.
Is the next? Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to switch to some other stuff. I'll come back and do the video later. I'll make sure I finish the whole video, but I don't want to just spend the entire class period just doing these. So let me do one more, and then I'll do the rest of the review. Positive 1x is my first coefficient, yes? Okay, so we're good to go. So I'm going to write x plus 3y plus 2z equals 5. And I'm just going to leave it. We're good to go. So now I'm going to take first and second, and I'm going to eliminate what? Yep. 3x plus y minus 2z equals 7. I see the z's cancel out. That doesn't bother. I don't care about that right now. I'm eliminating x's. So negative 3x minus 9y minus 6z equals negative 15. Agreed? You got all my signs right? Okay, so x's cancel out. What's a y and a negative 9y? Negative 8y. What's negative 2 and negative 6? Minus 8z equals negative 8. Question? So negative 8y minus 8z equals negative 8. You can. Juan said, can I simplify that? Sure. If you want to divide everything out by 8, that's fine. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it. So now I'm going to take first and what? And the last one. And I'm going to get rid of the x's. So negative 2. We okay with that? Negative 2x minus 6y minus 4z equals negative 10. So I have negative 4y minus z equals negative 7. Okay, now I'm going to scoot over here. And I'm going to take, excuse me, the first, just kidding. I'm going to take these two middle ones, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking I already did that. So I have, excuse me, negative 8y minus 8z equals negative 8. And then negative 4y minus z equals negative 7. So, negative 2. Okay, so I have positive 8y, positive 2z equals positive 14. Okay, so this middle one's gone. Now when I add down, what's negative 8 and positive 2? Negative 6z, I'm sorry. I divided. 6z equals positive 6. Agreed? Divide both sides by negative 6, and z equals negative 1. So I have right here, z equals negative 1. Okay, guys, there's one of these on the test. There's no reason that I'm not going to give you 5 of these. That would be crazy. So how do I figure out what all my letters are? You just plug it in. So I have negative 8y minus 8z equals negative 8, yes? Negative 8y minus 8z equals negative 8. Well, what did we say z was? Negative 1. So negative 8y minus, 8 times negative 1 equals negative 8. Negative 8y plus 8 equals negative 8, right? Guys, watch this. Negative 8, negative 8. Negative 8y is negative 16. Divide by negative 8, y equals 2. There you go, Mia. And lastly, we're going to take our first equation, and we're going to do what? Plug in y and z. So I have x plus 3 times, what was y? 2. Plus 2 times, what was z? Negative 1 equals 5. So x plus 6 minus 2 equals 5. X plus 4 equals 5. X equals positive 1. Agreed? What is my answer? 1. What is it? 2. Then what? Negative 1. All right. I did this problem yesterday, and I came out with 3 whole numbers, and I did not check it. I was just like, oh, yeah, good. I think I'm right. And then today, I was like, oh, wait, no, that wasn't right. So make sure you take 2 seconds to go back and check.
Wait, why is
All right, we okay? Okay, all right, so let's put the top equation to be x plus 5y minus z equals negative 20. And then we'll have 4x minus 5y plus 4z equals 19. And then negative x minus 5y minus 5z equals 2. Again, guys, you want the first equation to start off with a positive 1x coefficient. So we have x plus 5y minus z equals negative 20. So now we'll take first and second. So we have x plus 5y minus z equals negative 20. And 4x minus 5y plus 4z equals 19. So multiply the top by negative 4. Negative 4x minus 20y plus 4z equals 80. So we have negative 25y plus 8z equals 99. So that's my second equation. Now we're going to take first and third, eliminate x's. So x plus 5y minus z equals negative 20. Negative x minus 5y minus 5z equals 2. X's cancel out, y's cancel out. You have negative 6z equals negative 18. Divide by, negative 6, and z equals 3. Okay, so now we found out that z equals 3. We just use back substitution and go back in and solve. So I have negative 25y plus 8 times 3 equals 99. So negative 25y plus 24 equals 99. Negative 25y equals 75. So y equals negative 3. And then I take that, plug it in the top. So x plus 5 times negative 3 minus 3 equals negative 20. So x minus 15 minus 3 equals negative 20. X minus 18 equals negative 20. So x equals negative 2. And to write our answer as an ordered triple, we have negative 2, comma, negative 3, positive 3. And you can plug that in and check your answer. All right, guys, when we come to solve by graphing, in order to solve by graphing, you have to get your equations into y equals mx plus b. So 5x plus 4y equals negative 16. I want to move negative 5x to the other side, so it becomes 4y equals 5x minus 16. Divide both sides by 4, and we have y equals 5 over 4x minus 4. 4 would be my y-intercept. This would be my slope. So I'm going to graph. I have a point at negative 4, 2, 3, 4. And it's a positive line, so it slopes upward. I go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 4. 2, 3, 4. Plot my point again, up 5. 3, 4, 5 over 4. And connect your dots. My second line, I have x plus 4y equals 8. So move the x to the other side. I have 4y equals negative x plus 8. Divide by 4. And you have y equals negative 1 over 4x plus 2. So your y-intercept is at 2. And your slope is negative 1/4. So I have a dot at 2. And my line is going to go downwards. So I'm going to go down 1 and over 4. Up 1 and over 4. And connect my dots. And where the two cross is your solution. So you would write it as 4, comma 1. If they did not cross, if they were parallel, it would be no solution. And if they were one on top of the other, it would be infinite many. So again, same thing here. My first equation, 5x plus 3y equals 12. I'm going to move that x over. So it's 3y equals negative 5x plus 12. Divide everything by 3. Y is negative 5 over 3x plus 4. So my y-intercept is at 4, and my slope is at negative 5 over 3. So it's a downward sloping line. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 3. 1, 2, 3. Down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 3. Connect your dots. And then my second line, negative x plus 3y equals negative 6. Move that negative x over, so we have 3y equals x minus 6. Divide everything by 3. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Y-intercept is at 2. My slope is 1/3. So negative 2, I have a point. I'm going to go up 1 and over 3. Up 1 over 3. Up 1 over 3. Connect my dots. And again, where they cross is their solution. So my solution would be at positive 3, negative 1. All right, we come to these questions, guys. They are giving you, they're telling you that you have two accounts. That's where we get our X and Y from. So one account plus the other account, I have a total investment of $18,000. The interest rates are what you're going to put as your decimals in front of each account. It has to be as a decimal, so remember to move the decimal point over. So I'm just going to say that X is my 0.04 and Y is my 0.06, and that equals the interest, which is 1,000. So there you have your system set up. You can do this using substitution or elimination. It doesn't matter, whatever you're most comfortable with. I personally like elimination better. So, and I'm going to eliminate x's because that just makes more sense to me all the time. So if I'm multiply the top by 0.04, I have negative 0.04x minus 0.04y equals negative 720. Let me just add down. So I have 0.02y equals 1,000 minus 720 is 280. Divide both sides by 0.02. And y equals $14,000. So you invested $14,000 at Y, we said was the 6%. So then to figure out what the X was, well, the total that you invested was $18,000 minus the $14,000 gives you $4,000 at 4%. Same thing goes for the rest of these. I'll do number 13 since that's decimal points, so you guys can see that. But again, our two funds are X plus Y equals 18,000. And in this case, you have to move your percentages over two decimal places. So I'm just going to say 0.0275x plus 0.0425y equals, the interest was $684. So X plus Y equals 18,000. 0.0275x plus 0.0425y equals 684. If we eliminate the x's, multiply by negative 0.0275. So you have negative 0.0275x minus 0.0275y equals negative 495. So subtract 0.015y equals 189. Divide both sides by 0.015. And you have that y equals $12,600. So you had $12,600 invested in the account that had 4.25% interest. Then you take your 18,000 initial investment minus the 12,600, and you have that $5,400 was invested in the account that paid 2.75% interest. And again, the other ones are set up the same way. When you get to these guys, when you're solving the systems using any method, I don't care what you use, it doesn't matter. You just got to be careful with some certain things. Make sure that you check, make sure that you write your answer as an ordered pair, and make sure that if it's no solution or infinite many, you let me know. So in a question like number 14, I'm going to get rid of the denominators first. So I'm just going to multiply everything by 4. So when I do this, it would become negative x plus y equals 4, because I went all the way through here. So now, if we're going to eliminate, I'm going to eliminate the x's. So I have negative 2x plus 2y equals 8. And if I add down, and I have negative 4y, so it gives you negative 2y equals negative 26. Divide by negative 2, and y equals 13. Now I'm going to take 13. Plug it back in, so I have 2x minus 4 times 13 equals negative 34. 2x minus 52 equals negative 34. Add 52 to both sides. 2x equals 18. Divide by 2, and x equals 9. So you have the ordered pair of 9, 13. And plug it back in to see if your answer is correct. Now if we look at 15, I cannot just simplify as it's written. X, it should be x, y, then equals, and a number. So if I rewrite this as x, move 2y to the other side equals, to be minus 2y equals 2. Now I'm set up to where I can solve by elimination. So I'm just going to multiply the top equation by negative 1. So I have negative x plus 2y equals 6. So x's cancel out, y's cancel out. I get 0 equals 8. That is not a true statement, so I would write here no solution. When you come out to 0 equals a number, it's not a true statement, that'd be no solution. So when I come here, I see a bunch of decimal points. You guys can work this problem out like normal if you want to, or if you want to get rid of decimals, go ahead. If I want to get rid of decimals, it means I have to multiply everything by the same number. So if I multiply this top equation by 100, I'm going to move every decimal point over 2 places. So this becomes 3x minus 2y equals 8. On the bottom here, we're just going to multiply everything by 10. Move everything 1 decimal place. I get 6x minus 4y equals 16. And now I just go about solving like I normally would. I'm going to eliminate x's. So I have negative 6x plus 4y equals negative 16. Cancels out, cancels out, cancels out. I get 0 equals 0. When everything cancels out and you get 0 equals 0, this is when your answer is infinite. Infinitely many solutions. So infinite many and no solution can be a possibility here. When you have a case like this, if you guys notice, you have an x squared. So we have x squared, we have an x, and then we have a y. In this case, we're going to have to factor, but we have to have all the same variables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve this bottom equation for y. That means I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I get negative y equals negative 2x minus 1. And then I'm going to divide by negative 1 and get y equals 2x plus 1. So that means where I see a y in this equation up here, I'm going to plug it in. So I have 3x squared plus 4x minus 2x plus 1 equals 7. 3x squared plus 4x. I'm going to distribute that negative, so it's minus 2x minus 1 equals 7. Subtract 7 from both sides. Combine like terms here. 3x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0. And now we factor like normal. 3 times negative 8.
Negative 8 is negative 24. So what are the factors of negative 24?
Yeah. Factors of negative 24 that multiply to give me a negative 24, but add to give me a positive 2. So that's going to be x plus 6 and x minus 4. Bye. So I have to remember, guys, remember, a is not 1. So we have to divide out that a term. So x plus 2 and 3x minus 4 equals 0. So when I solve this, I'm going to get two x's. I get x equals negative 2, and I get x equals positive 4/3. So what I would do is I would take my negative 2, plug it back into the original equations to find this y. Then I would take positive 4/3, plug it back into the original equations to find this y. So we'd have two solutions here. Just make sure you guys are on top of that. When we come to our partial fraction decomposition, there's a bunch of different ways to do this, but I think it's really smart for us to first factor the denominator. First things first, factor the denominator, and then figure out what your zeros are going to be. So when I factor this denominator, I have x, what times what is going to give me negative 40 when I multiply, and I'm a negative 3 when I add. So x minus 8 and x plus 5. So in a second, when I do my algebra, I'm going to plug in x equals 8 and x equals negative 5 in order to complete the decomposition. So as I pull this apart, as I decompose, as we'll say, pull this apart, I have x minus 8 as one denominator and x plus 5 as the other. I have a sub 1 and a sub 2. So if I was going to work backwards, I'm trying to get a common denominator. I would have x plus 5 here. So if I multiply x plus 5 on the bottom, I would multiply x plus 5 on the top. And same thing on the other side. I need an x minus 8. So x minus 8 on the bottom, x minus 8 on the top. Now that my denominators are all the same, I can just go, poof, they're gone. So now here is my algebraic expression, or my algebraic equation, that I need to solve. So I have a sub 1, x plus 5, plus a sub 2 times x minus 8. And we're going to solve this twice. We're going to use our two zeros and find what our a sub 1 and a sub 2 is. So first thing I'm going to plug in is positive 8. So I'm going to say negative 8 plus 34 equals a sub 1 times 8 plus 5 plus a sub 2 times 8 minus 8. So I have positive 26 equals 8 and 5 is 13, so 13 a sub 1, and then my 8's cancel out. Divide both sides by 13, and a sub 1 is going to give me 2. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing. Excuse me, I'm going to solve over here, and I'm going to plug in negative 5. So I have negative 5 plus 34 equals a sub 1, excuse me, negative 5 plus 5 plus a sub 2 times negative 5 minus 8. So 5 plus 34 gives me 39 over here. My 5 and negative 5 cancels out, and this is negative 13, so I have negative 13 a sub 2 divide by negative 13. And I get that a sub 2 equals negative 3. So to write my answer, I look back at the original, how I had it set up. I had a sub 1 over x minus 8 plus a sub 2 over x plus 5. So a sub 1 is 2, a sub 2 is negative 3, and there's my partial fraction decomposition. If I wanted to check, I would just take my 2, multiply it by the x plus 5, the other denominator, plus negative 3 times the x minus 8, which is the other denominator. FOIL, so 2x plus 10, negative 3x plus 24. Combine like terms, 2x and negative 3x gives me negative x, 10 and 24 is 34, and that is what we started off with, negative x plus 34 in the numerator at the beginning. Same thing here. Let's factor first. I'm going to factor. What are the factors of negative 2 that give me a negative 2 when I multiply, but positive 1 when I add? Be positive 2, negative 1. So I know at some point I'm going to plug in x equals negative 2 and x equals 1 to decompose here. So let's split apart. One fraction has a denominator of x plus 2. One has a denominator of x minus 1. A sub 1 and a sub 2. So, to get a common denominator, I need x minus 1 here. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. Same thing over here. I need an x plus 2. So what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. This cancels out. So I have 4x minus 1 equals a sub 1 times x minus 1 plus a sub 2 times x plus 2. And again, we said we were going to plug in negative 2 and positive 1. So 4 times negative 2 minus 1 equals a sub 1 negative 2 minus 1 plus a sub 2 negative 2 plus 2. So I have negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9 equals negative 2, negative 1 is negative 3. So negative 3 a sub 1, and my negative 2's cancel out. Divide by negative 3, and I have a sub 1 equals 3. Same exact thing. Now we're going to plug in positive 1. So I have 4 times 1 minus 1 equals a sub 1, 1 minus 1, plus a sub 2. A sub 2 times 1 plus 2. So we have 4 minus 1 is 3 equals a sub 1's with the 1 that will cancel out. 2 plus 1 is 3. So 3 a sub 2 divide by 3, and a sub 2 equals 3. So now to write our answer, we look back at our original, and we had x plus 2 in the first fraction and x minus 1. So x plus 2, x minus 1. A sub 1 is 3. A sub 2 is 1. I don't know why I put 3. Because 3 divided by 3 is 1. Right here. Sorry, guys. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I have a 1 here. And there's our decomposition. So to check, remember, you take the numerator of one times the denominator of another plus the numerator of the other times the other denominator. You FOIL. So 3 times 1 is 3x minus 3 plus x plus 2. So 3x and 1x is 4x. Negative 3 and a positive 2 is negative 1. So 4x minus 1, is that what we started off with way up here at the beginning? Yes, it is. So guys, make sure you have your calculators tomorrow. Again, you are going to have the whole class period to work on 10 problems, but you do have to finish in the allotted time. So make sure you come, you work diligently, and do your best. This is the last test of the quarter. All right.